interview. It's not the place to slouch. A lot of people feel like, oh, it won't really matter what kind of person I am because I'm so smart and I'm so good. Nobody wants to work with an asshole, okay? Alright, so a lot of people will see my interview videos, all my from 2019 to early 2020 when I was interviewing for jobs, and of course my big one is my Microsoft video. And so people will watch those and they'll be like, hey, I'm interviewing at Microsoft. Do you have any extra tips? Can I please meet with you? Blah, blah, blah. And I would love to meet with everybody who watches, but unfortunately I don't have the time. And most of the time when people ask me for any advice or extra advice, I direct them back to my channel. But it's been a very long time since I made one of these videos, so I decided, hey, why not make another interview tips video? And today I'm going to be doing behavioral interview tips because I've never done that before. So my first piece of advice when you are interviewing and you're going through your behavioral interviews, let me take a step back. So when you interview for software engineering positions, typically you will have two types of interviews. You have technical interviews and you have behavioral interviews. In a technical interview, they will ask you questions that actually test your knowledge of coding and system architecture, basically anything that could be that has to do with actual coding and computer science type stuff. That's a technical interview. In a behavioral interview, they're really just trying to get more of a sense of who you are as a person, how you work through situations, and mostly how you work with people. This is typically where the culture fit type of deal comes in, and I have a whole thing about culture fit, but today we are just gonna talk about how to get through these behavioral interviews. So, number one is to just be yourself. It is very easy to tell when somebody is just kind of saying what you want to hear, what they think that you want to hear, because remember, you don't know the interviewers that well unless you do, and they also don't know you, and they genuinely want to get to know you. Side note, I'm sure there are people who think that I do those little tongue things on purpose. I cannot talk. I do this in meetings all the time. It's so embarrassing. And I have to repeat myself multiple times. My brain moves way faster than my mouth, and so that ends in me jumbling words a lot. Back to the video. All right. But yes, please be yourself, be you. They want to hire you for who you are. And we can get into this on a little deeper level for all my black girls. I am talking to you, all my black people in generally, but of course I have a soft spot for my fellow black girls. Be yourself in that interview, because the way I see it, do you really want to interview on a team where you have to pretend to be a totally different person every time you go to work, every time you show up, every time there's an event? No, you don't want to do that. And so while it may suck, and I know it's really easy to say when you already have a job, but be you. If you want to wear your afro in that interview, wear your afro. If you don't want to code switch, don't code switch. I would say don't use a whole bunch of slang in the interview. Don't be like, yeah, and I did this and it was busting. Don't do that. But you don't have to code switch. You don't have to talk white, right, to get the job. So 100% recommend be yourself, as a benefit to the team, but also as a benefit to you. Because if somebody doesn't want to hire you for the way that you look, or because you talk differently, not in a non-professional way, whatever that means, but just because you have a southern accent, or you have you just speak differently, then I don't think that's a team that you want to be a part of. And you should be picky when you're taking these jobs. And don't get me wrong, I understand 100% that when you just need a job, you want to do anything. But I'm telling you to just keep your standards high, and it will all come to you, okay? Keep your standards high, put in the work, and you will find the perfect place for you. So be yourself. All right, so number two is to do your research thoroughly. Now, a lot of people will say this. A lot of people will say, learn about the history of the company, learn about this, learn about that. If you're interviewing at a FANG company, one, there's not going to be too much to know in general because most of these companies are pretty new. But two, the company is so big that you really need to make sure you research your specific team. Now, this is something that y'all might not know. When you interview I know at Microsoft at least, they give you the names of your interviewers. Feel free to look them up. It's normal. It's natural. But when you look me up on LinkedIn, it tells me that you looked me up. I know that you just looked at my profile. I think a lot of people don't know that. So make sure you look at people's LinkedIn profiles in a private browser, not logged in. That way they don't know it's you looking at them. Yeah, I feel like a lot of jaws just dropped on that one because the number of pings I get from people, yeah, I can see that. And it's not just the first time. Every single time you look at my LinkedIn profile, I know it's you. I know you're looking at me. It does not bother me, but I just want y'all to know that we can see that. And so do your research. Look at what the people do. You know, you might be interested in what they do in the past, but make sure you pay attention to what they do right now, what their team is working on right now. Because if you get in the interview and you try to relate to them, and you try to relate to them by saying, oh yeah, I created these video games while I was working on Xbox, because you saw that the whole team worked on Xbox. But it turns out now the team works on Microsoft Word, and that's a little awkward because we're all like, ooh, they looked us up and they thought that we still did Xbox. Do they actually want to work on Xbox and they don't want to work on our team? So make sure when you do your research, you do it thoroughly, and look at people's LinkedIns on private, okay? Just save yourself. Just save yourself, okay? Take that tip with you. The next tip I have for behavioral interviews is to go ahead and write down everything about a project that you know, about projects that you have worked on. So whether they're side projects, because they'll sometimes ask you about, you know, decisions you have to make on your own, but definitely have a good amount of examples of working with other teams, or working with other people on a team, and have examples of like things that y'all did that were successful, things that y'all did that were unsuccessful, things that you tried to add to the project, things that you had to persuade people on. Like, make sure you have multiple projects. I would say come with at least 3, and you probably want to come with like 5. If you're early in career, fresh grad, I think 3 is probably going to be a good amount. And then older than that, you probably want to have 5, and all of that just because I would guess that you have 2 behavioral and 2 technical interviews. So you just want to be able to talk about a lot, and you don't want to have to use the same examples with every single interview that you do. And think about the fact that all of your examples of working with a team, or, you know, whatever behavioral questions they ask, they don't all have to be work related. They just need to know how you work with people. So whether you worked with those people on a cheerleading team, on a RHA executive board, in a sorority executive board, in a Chipotle, in a Abercrombie & Fitch, like, it doesn't matter. They just need to know how you worked with people. So have examples from everything. There are plenty of behavioral interview questions you could go look at. When it comes to behavioral, it's just like technical. You need to be ready for anything. So it is a good idea to write those down, practice those questions. Practice for a behavioral interview just like you would practice for a technical interview. It's not the place to slouch. A lot of people feel like, oh, it won't really matter what kind of person I am because I'm so smart and I'm so good. Nobody wants to work with an asshole, okay? And nobody wants to work with somebody who seems like they think they know everything. Or seems like they're just genuinely generally, I didn't know if I wanted to say generally or genuinely. Long story short, nobody wants to work with somebody that they don't like. And so that leads me to my next point, which is to be warm and personable. And I understand that's not everybody's personality type. Honestly, it's not even mine. Like, I'm pretty dry when I talk to people. Even if I'm very excited, a lot of times it'll come across as I'm just like chill about it. So personally, I combat that in 2 ways. One, I'll be like, I know it seems like I'm not excited about this, but I'm super excited. Like, I'll just voice, how I'm feeling in the situation, because sometimes my emotions just don't come across in the way that I'm talking or the way that I am acting or carrying myself. So I'll either like make sure that they know, like, hey, yeah, I know it seems like I don't care about what's going on right now, but I like genuinely care. I'm just like really nervous, and so nothing's coming out of me right now because I'm just so in shock, something like that. Or just try to shake the nerves as best as you can. I know I was super nervous in my interviews. I was sweating like crazy, but I still tried to show my personality, and that kind of comes with being yourself, right? But show every part of you. In these behavioral interviews, this is where they get to know you as a person. So like, let's say they ask you, hey, what do you like to do on the weekends? You can say that you like to go golfing. You can say that you like to go hiking. You can say that you like shopping. They asked me what I like to do in my interviews, and I originally was like, I like to work on web development, blah, blah, blah. And the guy interviewing me, he was like, what do you like to do on the weekends? I was like, well, to be honest, I like to go shopping. Now, let me tell you, that was a very vulnerable moment for me, because I was like, if I say shopping, he might think I'm the dumbest bitch in the world. He might be like, okay, this girl, no, she is not the kind of person that we want here. But that, again, goes back to number one. If they don't want to hire me because I like to shop on the weekends and not code on the weekends, then I guess it's just not a team that I'm meant to be on, and it's not a team that I want to be on. So, yeah, just be yourself. Say what you want to say. Now, if it's actually literally offensive, maybe keep that to yourself. Use your best judgment, but be yourself. Be you. We don't want to see like a cookie cutter, software engineer. You don't have to fit into this software engineer mold. People want to make I can only speak for my team, but we want our team to be, diverse and well-rounded. And so we don't want just like these code robots, right? We want people that are whole. So yeah, make sure you be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself. If you feel like you cannot be yourself, that probably means that's not the team for you. I highly encourage you to keep looking if you are in a situation where you can. My last tip is to make sure that you answer the question. There is a dog barking outside, driving me nuts. Okay. Make sure that you answer the question. In behavioral interviews, it's very easy to get lost because they'll be like, can you talk to me about a time when you had to work with a difficult person? And you'll be like, hold on, let me think about that. And be like, all right, difficult person story. Here we go. And you'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And oh my God, I didn't even tell y'all. This is what this girl did when this happened. Like, you can get totally from the point because you are sharing stories that happened in your life. And if you're like me and you like to talk and you like to be very detailed so people know every single thing, you can get away from your point very easily. But make sure you don't do that in an interview because you don't have a lot of time. And people want to see you in your best light and they want to be able to, recommend you for their team. But they can't do that if you don't give them the answers to the questions that they ask you. So practice. That way you don't go off scene or off topic. And make sure, you hit the question right on the head. And it's okay to be like, blah, 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 here's my story. Did that answer your question? And the interviewer will either say, yeah, that was great. Let's go to the next one. Or they'll say, can you tell me a little bit more about, to expand on something? Don't just say the same thing again, all right? Just expand on it. Or be like, okay, give me a second and think harder. That way you can come up with a way to expand it because I understand it's on the spot. You used to just say in 2 or 3 sentences. Trust me, the interviewers want to hear what you have to say. They're there for a reason. They're ready to get some great people on their team. So give them the answers they need so that they can hire you. I hope this video was helpful. Send it to your friends, and if you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I know y'all love to DM me, but please leave them in the comments because if I can answer it in the comment section, then I'm not answering it just for just one person. I'm answering for like 50 people, and now you have also helped someone. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!